How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Derek Chauvin and the three other officers who were there with him during the arrest of George Floyd. They have all been indicted by the FBI for unreasonable seizure, excessive force, and for failing to render Mr. Floyd aid because we all know he died while he was being arrested by them. Now, the argument is, did they do it? Did Chauvin do it? Was it an accident? Was it a drug overdose? That's an argument that can be had. However, all of them have been indicted by the FBI. Now, there's a lot to quote unquote unpack here, as the cool kids would say. But first, let's get into the news clip. In this clip, you'll see a little bit more about what's going on, but not everything. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what they did say, what they did not say. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents, my deep, detailed analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
The additional charges for Derek Chauvin, the former officer convicted of killing George Floyd. A federal grand jury indicting him along with 3 other former Minneapolis police officers, alleging they violated Floyd's constitutional rights. ABC's Zachary Keish has the details.
This morning, a new federal indictment pins the possibility of life in prison on the 4 Minneapolis police officers implicated in the death of George Floyd. The U.S. Department of Justice writing that when Derek Chauvin kneeled on George Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes, he used unconstitutional, unreasonable force that led to his murder.
I think it's sending a clear and strong signal that police departments need to look internally. They need to be reviewing their training, who they're hiring, their use of force when they occur.
Former Minneapolis police officers Chauvin, Tou Thao, Alexander King, and Thomas Lane are all named in the 3-count indictment for willfully depriving Mr. Floyd of his constitutional rights during his arrest. Relative to recent history, the charges came swift. Chauvin was convicted of killing Floyd in state court last month.
This was about George Floyd's life, the fact that he had a constitutional right to life. And when they denied him a breath for that knee being on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, if that wasn't a constitutional violation, we don't know what was.
We reached out to the officers and received no comment, but legal experts are already considering the implications of these new charges, both on the 3 officers who have yet to face trial in Minnesota, but also on the jurors that will determine their guilt or innocence. Meanwhile, Chauvin faces additional but unrelated charges stemming from the tactics he allegedly used during the arrest of a teenage boy back in 2017.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, where do I begin? There's so much here. First things first, I'm not sure how you're going to get these officers convicted on anything. What did they do? Now, Chauvin, that's arguable, that's debatable. But the 3 other officers, what did they do? First of all, Chauvin and Tou Thao, I can't pronounce his name, but you guys know what I'm talking about, the Asian officer, they were riding together. And they decided to go ahead and stop to help the rookie officers. Now, the 2 guys that were out there, aside from Chauvin and his partner or person he was riding with, Tou Thao, they had been out on the field for a very short period of time, like a week or 2. They're rookies. Chauvin was the FTO, the field training officer. He was training them about what to do in a situation like that. So if he has the knee on the neck or the back, which, by the way, was department policy, it was a legal and sanctioned thing to do. Okay, I'll talk about that a little bit more because they're trying to go back and do some stuff. But anyway, it was legal, it was sanctioned, it was trained by the department. So he's training them the same way that he had been trained. So if they are doing what he was training them how to do right there in the field, how are you going to say that somehow they did something wrong? They're rookies on the force. All they can do is go by the training materials and the training officer. If he did something wrong, that's not their fault. That's like saying that somebody's driving the car and they drive recklessly, they start speeding, and somebody dies as a result, then the people in the car that are passengers are going to be charged. How is that possible? I'm not driving this car. Now, you could say that they had their weight on his body or whatever, but can you say that their weight on the body caused them to die? Can you say that? Again, it's arguable for Chauvin, but for somebody that had their hands on his legs, what has that got to do with him not being able to breathe? right? And he was under arrest. He was resisting. So I'm not really sure what could have been done there. I don't get it. And Chauvin's partner, or the guy he was riding with, Too Tall, he was not even touching George Floyd. He wasn't even looking at George Floyd. His whole thing was to make sure the crowd around did not get out of control and everybody was safe. So he wasn't even seeing what was happening. How are you going to say that he did something wrong by not rendering Mr. Floyd aid when he wasn't even looking? Because that was not his responsibility. His whole thing was to make sure the crowd was straight and everything was under control and everybody was safe. He was not even involved with that. So I don't really see how you're going to convict them. They didn't even go through any kind of trial process on the state, local level. So how are you going to say, all right, we're going to bring it to the federales and then try you there? I'm having a really hard time seeing that. I think what's happening here is the FBI wants to make a statement. They want to enact revenge. Okay, they want to kind of like go after certain enemies. This is why maybe they went to Alaska to try and find Nancy Pelosi's laptop based upon social media posts, wind up going to the wrong person's house, raiding their house about nothing. You know, you're visiting people, interviewing them about nothing, silly stuff. And I feel like it's not even necessarily the field agents that are out there doing this. It's the higher ups. It's the higher ups. They have a political agenda. And I feel like this whole thing with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd is part of their political agenda. We saw the CIA ad, how woke they are. Maybe the same thing's happening at the FBI. Again, not from the regular normies that are on the ground, the agents, the field agents, but from leadership. That's kind of what's happening. And then also to go to a rumor I heard about during the Chauvin trial, they were saying, as per the rumor, that if Chauvin was found innocent, if he was acquitted, the FBI was going to be right there to arrest him for a case that happened back in 2017. Now, they're trying to say that he arrested a 14-year-old boy improperly. They said that he had his knee on his back for like 17 minutes. He was not resisting. He was laying down, unarmed, all this and that and the third. First of all, the boy didn't die, so it was nothing like George Floyd at all. Second of all, again, the whole knee on the back. And, you know, they said back. It didn't say neck this time. They made it clear the knee was on the back. So if the knee's on the back neck area, that's trained by the department, and there was no problem back in 2020 before the incident happened with George Floyd, 2019, 2018, and 2017, why is it a problem right now? It's not a problem. They're just trying to use that against them. Furthermore, since the maneuver, the knee on the back or the neck, was part of Minneapolis Police Department's training manual, it was a policy to do that. Are you going to go back and find other guys that are, you know, have done the same thing? You're going to try to indict them, or is it all about just Derek Chauvin and what he did because of George Floyd? If not for George Floyd, would the 14-year-old arrest incident even be an issue? Also, why did the 14-year-old get arrested? What happened? Okay, they didn't talk about that part in the news story, did they? Well, from what I've been able to read, and I'll link to my source in the box, and if I'm wrong, you guys let me know in the comments below. From what I read, the 14-year-old's mother called the police on him. That's right, his own mama called the police because the 14-year-old and her other child were attacking her, were physically beating on her. So you got this 14-year-old, oh, he's a poor boy, he ain't do nothing. Meanwhile, he beating his mama in the head, and she had to call the police on him. Okay, I was reading other articles. They're talking about he was crying for his mama and saying, stop beating on me. Meanwhile, the mama called the police because he was beating her. So that's what happened. The boy didn't die. He just got arrested, and then that was that. It's weird because you hear about all these things, right? What the police can do to restrain someone. Oh, shoot him in the leg. Meanwhile, you might get shot in the leg and bleed out in 30 seconds and die, okay? And then they say, oh, use a taser. Taser is less than lethal, meaning that it still can be lethal. You can still die from a taser strike. If the taser don't work, then what? Now you got a dangerous person that's out on the loose that's more on edge because they feel like you might shoot him or something like that. So taser, shooting in the leg, then it's like, okay, you can restrain them. You a big, tough man, you can restrain them. But then when you restrain him with a knee on the back and he doesn't die, he's fine and everything's all good, then you say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Hands up, don't shoot. George Floyd, I can't breathe. This whole thing is dumb. It's unfortunate that George Floyd died, and may he rest in peace. But good grief, what are we doing? It's going to get to the point where police say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to throw my hands up because what's the point? What's the point of me throwing my life on the line, risking my freedom to go out here and serve the public? You're not getting paid a lot of money to be an officer. You're getting paid like 30 grand, 40 grand sometimes, depending upon where you live. Okay. If you live on the left coast where things are, ridiculously unaffordable, you might make 65,000 maybe, something like that. You're not making a lot of money. You're doing this because you have a desire to serve your community. You have a desire to protect the community. But when they don't have your back, when I say they, I mean the higher ups, the politicos, the president, people like Maxine Waters, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama talking about, the right decision was made and it should be a correct decision before a decision was made. You want to try to influence the jury pool. When you got that type of stuff going on, what's the point in being an officer? This is why you're seeing homicide and or shooting rates just skyrocket all over the nation. 30%, 40%, 50%. Don't nobody care about that though, huh? It's all right if you have more dead black lives at the hands of other black people because there ain't no police. As long as there are fewer police-involved shootings, then it's fine. I said this before. They don't really care about people that actually die. If it's about Black Lives Matter, they would support the police. They would defend the police. They would not hate the police or defund the police. But here we are. This is what we're dealing with. So as I close, I want to say this. I think the FBI, the federales, are being led by incompetent people, and the leadership, again, not the regular people that are out there, the agents, the leadership, they are being politically driven by the White House, in my humble opinion. And it's really a shame because now you got guys that shouldn't be in jail at all that are going to be facing it. Again, you could argue Chauvin. That's arguable. Maybe he did something that he should go to jail for. Maybe. I don't really think so, but if it's an argument, I'm willing to hear it. But the other officers, the rookies that didn't know what was going on, Too Tall, who didn't even touch George Floyd, I don't understand. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about the decision to indict all the officers involved with basically civil rights violations? How do you feel about them going back to 2017 and digging up a thing that Derek Chauvin was involved with that did not result in anybody getting injured or dying? Talking about, he took a flashlight and beat my son in the head with it. I mean, come on. Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I stand on it. I think this whole thing is ridiculous. It's a witch hunt. You're trying to send a message, and all you're going to end up doing is making the black community much more dangerous. We've already seen it happen all over the nation. It's already going on right now. You got little kids getting killed and everything else. The police are going to be hands off because we're too heavy-handed. We're quote-unquote over-police. Okay. You're over police. There's too many officers. You need to back off the community and go somewhere else. All right, well, you got it. Now you got 30, 40% higher homicide rate, and it's more dangerous for regular everyday people to happen to live in these areas. Then, oh, well, you asked for it. It's your fault. And the crazy part is that it's not even those that live there that are asking for this. Who wants this aside from those that are trying to make money, that are trying to grift? Your Patrisse Cullors of the world. You live in Topanga Canyon up there in a hippie commune, right? A multi-million-dollar estate, chilling, eating all types of exotic imported food. Meanwhile, down the hill in the trenches, in the jungles, you got real live danger happening. You don't care. You provoke it. You incite it, but you're able to eat off that, so it's all good. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.